In this video, I'm going to discuss evaluating a composition of functions at a particular point. So in the last video we did finding compositions of functions. So this is find f circle g, but instead of just finding it of x, we're going to find it of 1. So there's a couple ways we can do this. The first way is we could actually do what we did in the last video and go ahead and find the composition of these functions and then just plug in 1. And that would totally work. But another way, another approach you could take, since this f circle g of 1 is going to be equivalent to f of g of 1, this kind of means we could put 1 into g, and then whatever we get for that value we could put into f, and that would work as well. So let's try it both ways. So at first we're just going to find f circle g of x. Okay, that means we're going to put g into f. So f is going to be this thing right there, and g is going to go in there, so 2x plus 1. So this is going to be 10x plus 5 minus 3, so 10x plus 2. So this is going to be f circle g of x. Now if we actually wanted to put the value of 1 in there, it would be f circle g of 1, and it would be 10 times 1 plus 2, so it would be 10 plus 2 is 12. So we could do it that way and we get 12, and that's totally cool. Or let's try it this way. Let's go ahead and plug 1 into g, and then whatever we get there, let's plug that into f. So if we plug 1 into g, it's going to be g of 1, so it's going to be 2 times 1 plus 1, so it'll be 2 plus 1 will equal 3. So now let's find f of 3. Well, 5 times 3 minus 3 is 15 minus 3 equals 12 again. So you'll notice both of these answers are going to be 12, and it doesn't really matter which way you go about doing this. Some problems it might be easier to do it this way, and some problems it might be to do easier this way. So it's kind of your choice as you take this approach. So this is evaluating compositions. So f circle g at 1 or f of g of 1. In the next example, we have two functions, f and g, and f of x is going to be defined as the square root here of the quantity x minus 3, and g of x is going to be defined as x cubed minus 5. What it is that we're looking for is g circle f of 7. So in the previous example, I showed you two ways to do it. You can actually find the composition of the functions and then plug in 7. Or, since this also looks like g of f of 7, we could put 7 into f and then just put that value into g. So again, I'll do it both ways, and then we'll kind of evaluate at the end and see which one perhaps was a little easier. Okay, so the first one here, let's find the composition. So let's actually go about finding g circle f of x. So that means g is our big guy here, so we're going to have that cubed minus 5. And what is it that's going to be cubed? It's going to be the square root of x minus 3 is going to be cubed. So, I mean, you can kind of look at this a couple of ways. You could say it's the quantity x minus 3 to the power of 3 halves minus 5. I mean, kind of either one of these would have been fine. So if we go ahead and plug 7 in here now, and actually do g circle f of 7, we'll put a 7 in here. 7 minus 3 will be square root, and then cube minus 5. This might get a little, I don't know, crazy for some students, just because you have an exponent and a radical and all that stuff. So 7 minus 3 is going to be 4. So it's going to be the square root of 4, and that cubed minus 5. And the square root of 4 is 2. So 2 cubed minus 5 is 8 minus 5, and that's going to be 3. Okay? So that's one way to do it, is actually to find the composition and then to evaluate it at 7. Another way to do it would be to put 7 into f. So if we find f of 7, it's going to be the square root of 7 minus 3. So the square root of 4 is 2. And we're going to plug 2 into g. So g of 2. And g is going to be x cubed minus 5. So it'll be 2 cubed minus 5. You'll notice we did that a while ago. And it's going to be 3 also. So both of the answers are 3. I don't know. I think sometimes this is maybe a little easier because you're only dealing with numbers and simplifying expressions that way. In this one, you have a lot of algebra that you have to work out. If you make a mistake over here, then this isn't going to come out quite right. So, but it's your choice. You can do it either way. G circle f of 7, you can either find the composition and then plug in 7, or you can just plug 7 into f, and then whatever you get there, plug that in for G. In this third and final example, we're going to find f circle G of -2. So we're going to evaluate the composition at -2. And we're going to use the functions f of x equals 3x squared plus 5 and g of x equals 2x minus 1. So in the previous problems, we kind of approached it two ways. We said, well, we can find the composition and then plug in -2. Or, since really this means f of g of -2, we could just plug -2 into g, and whatever we get there, plug into f. So let's go ahead and do the composition first. So f circle g of x is going to mean f of g of x. So when we do that, we're going to put this g function into our f function. So f says 3x, or something, squared, and then plus 5. And what is that something? Well, that something is the g, so 2x minus 1. So at this moment, be really careful. You cannot distribute this 3 in here because this quantity is trapped by this squared up here. So you could, at this moment, just go ahead and say f circle g of -2 by plugging -2 right there in for that x. There's no reason to simplify this anymore. I mean, you could expand it, but there's really no reason to. So 3 times, this is going to be 2 times -2 is our x value, minus 1. That quantity is squared, and then plus 5. Okay, so order of operations dictates we kind of work these parentheses first, and inside here we'll do this multiplication. So 2 times -2 is -4, minus the 1, that whole quantity is squared. Anyway, we're just going down and working this thing and simplifying it. So exponents will be next. So 3 times, we have -5 quantity squared, so 3 times 25 will be 75 plus 5. I'm way off the screen now, sorry. There we go, is 80, right? So you could find the composition first, which is right there, and then just go ahead and plug in your -2. Or you can plug in the -2 to g, so we'll find g of -2. Well, that's going to be 2 times -2 minus 1 will be -4 minus 1 is -5. Notice this -5 is actually what we got down here, -5. So a lot of the arithmetic, in fact, all the arithmetic will be the same. It just is going to look a little different, the two ways you do it. Now we'll find f of -5, that value right there. So 3 times -5 squared plus 5 is going to be the same thing we had a while ago. So this would be 75 plus 5, which is going to equal my 80. So you see, both the values will be the same. If you have troubles maybe simplifying huge things like this, maybe you don't like to use those order of operations or you're not really keen on it, this is probably much easier because it's two separate and probably a little easier whenever they're by themselves expressions to simplify. But nevertheless, you have options for how you want to find this f circle g and evaluate it at a particular value. You can either find the composition first and then plug in the number, or you can just work it and find the inside one and then plug that one into the outside one.